South African and African creative realm has really come to its own over the past few decades. So much so that the whole world is looking to Africa for inspiration, answers, and guidance. For this week's episode, we are coming to you from the creative hub of Maboneng to explore food, art, and design. We're speaking to visionaries and the thought leaders at the forefront of African creativity. I'm your host, Ayanda Tabete, and this is Africa Modern. Coming up on Africa Modern this week, we're exploring African cuisine with the founder of Black Olive House.
We have a lot of ideas about what we think our food is.
Then we take a look at Afro-futuristic art with Lillian Gray.
I believe that we were designed and created to create.
And to finish things off, we're catching up with creatives as we chat to award-winning ceramic artist and furniture designer Chuma Maweni to see exactly what he's working on.
I draw inspiration from anything that's around.
I'm gonna say it, no food trumps African food. Just kidding, but it is quite special. With a melting pot of cultures comes tastes, textures, and cooking methods that have stood the test of time. Nonhlanhla Masomvuka, who is the founder of Black Olive House, takes us through a journey as she explores traditional herbs that have been locally sourced. She creates a beautiful South African dish with a modern twist.
We have a lot of ideas about what we think our food is, but there's not really a lot of information out there about what grows here and what we have access to, especially in South Africa. My responsibility as a Black female chef is to reintroduce that conversation back into the table so Southern Africa can have a seat at that table to say, this is our food, these are our ways of cooking. Black Olive House is about clean eating. We don't use a lot of the GMO, flavorants and all of that. So I had to find ways to incorporate flavor outside of what was available to me in the shop or at the markets. So while doing that research, then I found it led me to indigenous crops, and I realized how much flavor they have, how many nutrients they have. They're very good for you. The key ingredients that I love working with is the South African garlic, the wild garlic. I also enjoy working with umhlonyane, which is wormwood, African wormwood, The indigenous crops have really been a risk for us, but it's fun. It's very exciting. Experimenting with them, discovering them, I think, is even more exciting. My garden is my home. My garden is right outside our studio, and it's an indigenous garden. And the reason why we created the garden, or we started planting, is because there's no access to these indigenous crops that I'm speaking about. It's still very small, but it gives us so much contentment because we've got impepo, we've got umhlonyane, we've got our wild garlic, we've got rose geranium there, and the fact that I can actually take them, use them, experiment with them, learn how they grow, why they grow, the different seasons that they go through is mainly the reason why we wanted to plant them. My grandmother's garden was the most beautiful garden I have ever seen. She ate a lot of raw food, and that's where I got my love for raw ingredients. When I started becoming a chef, I appreciated the food for the texture, how it smells when it's still raw. That's when you get the most out of it. So that's why salads are so amazing, because most of the stuff is still raw, it's crunchy, you get the real flavor out of that. The techniques that are truly close to my heart are old indigenous techniques, how our forefathers and ancestors used to cook. That's what I enjoy, how I enjoy cooking. And with that, there's no technicality really. The dish that I'm gonna be making is gonna be up with amasi and a spinach and tomato relish. And that dish is very close to my heart because it's a dish that I grew up eating. It involves just boiling water, adding some maize, then cooking pap like how you normally cook pap. And then you take amasi, add some pesto in it, and then you chop some onions. And then add frozen spinach to that, because I find the texture is much nicer than when you use fresh spinach. Let it cook a little bit, add some black pepper, salt, and garlic. So South Africans didn't eat a lot of meat because we didn't really have a lot of access to meat here until recently. If you look at chicken, it's domesticated, and domestication only started a few years ago. So all these things that grew on this land is mainly what we ate. I wouldn't say I'm vegan or we are a vegan company, but that lifestyle influences a lot of what we do because it's good for you. It's very healthy. So when you live a plant-based lifestyle, everything becomes lighter and you have more energy throughout the day. I decided on black olive house because I'm a black female and I love olives, and the house, it was because I wanted it to feel like home. What it means for me to be a black female chef in the African context is the responsibility is on me to have the conversations that I want to have as a black female, but also as a female chef in Africa, especially in Southern Africa, to bring the conversation back to the table about Southern African ingredients. I want, us to be proud of the food that grows here, and we can't be proud of it if we don't know it. Beautiful, absolutely amazing.
See, African food with a modern twist, amazing, right? But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we speak to South African artist Lillian Gray, whose work focuses on Afro-futuristic elements. Now, art is a universal language, and for local South African artist Lillian Gray, keeping the essence of fine art in today's modern art scene is very important. Her painted portraits contain strong messaging, which often mirrors what's happening in society. Her recent work features Afro-futuristic elements with a vibrancy of color. Let's check it out.
I love art. I believe that we were designed and created to create, to keep on creating, keep on evolving, and not be stagnant. My upbringing as a child was not conventional in any way. We grew up in the middle of nowhere in a very, very small town called Jacobsbaai in the West Coast. And at that stage, it wasn't a town at all. My dad was a visionary and he was a developer, so he wanted to establish a town. So from we were very small, he had this crazy dream that one day everybody was going to want to live in the West Coast. And he was right, but we all had to make it happen. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and we grew up in this tiny, tiny house with no running water, no electricity, completely isolated from anything. And that kind of gave me a love for drawing, because I really had to start doing art to keep sane, because I'm an extrovert and I love people. I'm one of those lucky people that always knew what I wanted to do. Every single fiber in my body knew that I wanted to be an artist. I don't always think I had the guts. When I told my dad that I really wanted to go study art, I think he thought I was insane. And it's this whole doom and gloom story of you'll end up on the street, you won't have any money. My maths teacher was so disappointed in me, and he used to tell me, what are you gonna do? Sit at the stop sign trying to sell paintings. And they really tried to push me to study other stuff. And I just said, no, I wanna be an artist. I studied a lot of various stuffs, but eventually my father and I came to the conclusion that if I study business and art, he'll allow me to study art. So I did both. I think my art has been on quite a big journey in these last 4 years. Last year I did a lot of different faces and portraits in different colors. If I paint somebody in blue or in green, they start transcending race. And in a lot of places they transcend gender as well. We're all just human. We're all just here on this earth to make this place a better planet. We all want the same things out of life. At the moment, I'm much more drawn to the fourth industrial revolution, and that started flowing into how do we blur the lines between bio and tech, and then I started flowing into Afro-futurism. What does it mean to be black or white in South Africa today? When I finished studying, I kind of got swept up into commercial art. I had this hectic art career, as a commercial artist, doing stuff for graphic design and TV and visual comms and marketing strategy and all of that. And I really got swept up in that. When my husband and I got our children, I kind of went through like 3 or 4 au pairs. And eventually I walked in home early from a meeting and this au pair was screaming at my daughter. And I just lost it. I was like, we don't raise our voices in this house. This is not how I want to raise my children. And literally that evening, I said to my husband, I'm done. I'm going to work from home. I'll raise them. And he said to me, are you insane? How are we going to make money? And I was like, I am going to paint. I'm just going to do what I was meant to do all this time and paint. And just be like 100% an artist that paints for myself. So I was actually sitting at home feeling quite depressed, and one of my best friends, Adele, rocked up with a bottle of red wine and a canvas, and she said to me, you're going to teach me how to paint like you. And I said to her, you are nuts. And she's like, you are going to. And she just kept on coming every Thursday night, paying me in wine. And eventually she started bringing other friends, and we started becoming this little group on a Thursday night, painting together. And after a few months, I was like, okay, you guys need to start paying me now. So then that became more formal, and now we've got 170 students.
Who's the man? Yay! Are you ready? Don't you love me? You get to skip school a bit.
Working with children they're just epic. They're awesome, they're little geniuses walking around, and if you don't speak down to a child and you actually speak with them with expectation and belief, they really step up to the platform. What I really love about kids is their imagination, and I love telling stories. I love telling stories and sharing with them art history, telling them what is the story behind this picture, so they can really start asking the deeper questions of life.
So, let's just start here with a word. Let's just break this word down.
Today I've got something very special planned for the children, and I'm really excited. I've made a game where they can roll a dice, and their artwork is really up to chance today, but they're going to be building an Afrofuturism portrait, which will be a lot of fun, and to see how every single one of them will end up with something completely different. I think what led me to teach Afrofuturism today is it is such an important topic. I feel like, yes, Afrofuturism started in America, but all eyes are on Africa at the moment for inspiration for Afrofuturism. And for me, a high value for me is empowerment. And I remembered walking out of watching Black Panther, just feeling like Wakanda everything, like we can really conquer the world. And I was thinking, how much more do the South African children not feel that resonance with the awesomeness and the vibrancy and what this continent has to offer. So today I really want to focus on Afrofuturism and show them that there is something, there's a design, there's an art movement that the world wants from us, and they're listening and they're looking at us for that.
Being African means that I'm a special person. I love our cultures.
I think African means to express yourself more often.
It means a lot being African. Being African is great.
I try and make them remember what is the key message that they need to take away and how can they apply that in their own art. And then once they're done, I usually go around and I just help them finish it off and make sure the painting says exactly what they wanted it to say. I think people tend to look at South African art and, in the past they used to be like, oh, that's nice, where did you pick that up? That's a cute little souvenir from Africa. But I think right now our art is much more serious and we've got a lot to say. So the artists are really stepping up to the platform and really bringing something unique that the world wants. So I think artists, how it's evolved is we're much more brave, we're much more out there, much more saying what we need to say in our own African way. Being from South Africa and being African, is such a loaded term, and I think the past in South Africa has really made it hard for us to actually discuss these things. But a picture that works in my mind is Trevor Noah, jokingly says, he talks about the Oros in the bottle and the Oros in the glass. And I think by this time in South Africa, we're all the Oros in the glass. We've all been diluted. We've all got a little bit of everything inside of us by now. And I think it's awesome to say that we are African. I'm African. I'm from this country and it's a part of who I am. I think what makes us African is not the color of our skin, but our passion for our country and the fact that we're all here to change it, make it better and empower others. I think that's what it means to be truly South African.
Lillian is a true master of her craft, and what a pleasure it is to witness a glimpse of her world. But don't go anywhere, because after the break we chat to award-winning ceramic artist and furniture designer Chuma Maweni, who has exhibited internationally at Salon Art and Design in New York as well as Design Miami. Don't miss it. Chuma Maweni is an award-winning ceramic artist and furniture designer. He draws inspiration from his culture and his upbringing in Transkei. He describes his style as Afrocentric with an international feel. Let's check him out.
My name is Chuma Maweni. I'm a ceramic artist based in Cape Town, South Africa. I realized that I was passionate about ceramics when I was doing my first year at Nelson Mandela University. As for the furniture, it's something that I've just started making now, about 3 years ago, while I was working with Southern Guild Gallery, and I just realized that it's actually another nice way of combining ceramics, which is clay, and combining it with wood. I draw inspiration from anything that's around me. It can be a building, it can be a small little seed from the ground. It can be anything. It's my culture also, background where I come from, which is in Transkei. My style of ceramics is driven by Africa, things that are happening today, driven by things that are happening in the world, or items that I see around the world, and just putting it together to create one beautiful piece. In my understanding, the term African modern means that it's traditionally African with a contemporary feel and look in it. The best advice that I've received from someone some time ago is that never give up on what you want to do. So don't ever allow yourself to be discouraged by people. Just do what you believe in the way you want it. Because there are people that are actually watching you and people that are actually acknowledging the creativity that you have. So rather feed on that. Or get those people close to you so that they can work with you, and people that are gonna encourage you to actually be better. I'm working on a new project, which is a new item for an exhibition called Soul Lace, which will be held by the Southern Guild Gallery in the waterfront. So people can expect to see something nice, but they're probably different, I hope. I also hope that it's acceptable to the public and to you guys. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. Should be good. Yeah.
It's been such a fun installment of Africa Modern. Join us next week as we continue to explore the creatives that call Africa home. Let's continue the conversation on social media using the hashtag Africa Modern. Until then, I am Ayanda Tabete and this is Africa Modern.